What's up, everybody? Welcome back to 30 to Life. It's your boy Uso Ron, and today I want to talk to y'all about how my dad was a correctional officer for maybe 25 years, maybe longer, I'm not sure. So let's get into it. So those of you have been following me for a while, you know already that my mom had left Samoa, came to the States, doing her thing or whatever, trying to figure out what to do with her life. Well, somewhere down the road, she bumped into a guy and had me. And evidently that didn't work out. And so she moved on, but she ended up meeting another person who ended up becoming my dad and a father to me my whole life. And he just so happened to be a correctional officer. But at the time when she met him, he was in the military. He was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he, made his way out to California to try to find work. But, later on down the road, him and my mom met and they ended up getting married and starting a family. So, this guy who became my dad, man, those of you who know how important it is to have a father in your life, man, I'm very grateful for this man accepting me as one of his, as well as accepting my sister as one of his. He loved us. He provided for us. I'm talking about, he went to work, got benefits, made sure we had our dental, all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man really took care of us, and I wasn't his blood. Anyways, when he had got out the military, I guess he had decided to join corrections because Vacaville had built a prison within the town. So he got into corrections, and I just remember, I was a little kid, so it wasn't like I knew what was going on, but I just remember him, leaving to work early in the morning sometimes with his uniform on, and I thought he was like a cop or something, But as time, goes by, you start learning and seeing really what he was doing. And I remember just growing up at sometimes, he would call home and say like an inmate escaped from the prison and tell my mom to lock all the windows and the doors and shit like that, and I remember we'd just be sitting in the house kind of scared, you know what I'm saying? But, nothing ever happened. And he was, I don't know, man. He was a good dude, man. But I think, man, what happened with joining corrections, it really fucked him up. You know what I'm saying? If you look at pictures from him when he was younger and in the military, and then when he went into corrections, just his eyes changed. You know what I'm saying? He became a different person. And I remember he used to come home mad all the time, and he would just grab his liquor bottles and he would start drinking as soon as he got home. You know what I'm saying? My dad, he was an alcoholic. He loved that drink, and especially when he got off work, he'd come home and drink, and he was just always grumpy. You know what I'm saying? One of those dudes that, just wanted to be left alone. You know what I'm saying? When he was trying to chill. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't want to be bothered with shit. Didn't want the kids running in and out, slamming doors or making hella noise. He didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? So he was that type of dude where he would be upset about shit like that and yell at you over it, He's kind of where I got my bad mouth from. You know what I'm saying? I heard him, he used every cuss word in the book, while I was growing up. And so I got my bad mouth from him, you know what I'm saying? But, as a kid, he never treated me different as far as not being his son. He was a white man. He's white. So I was some brown skinned little boy, and I'm sure he got funny looks over it, but he didn't give a fuck. At one point in time, him and my mom had split up, and my mom took off and she took us kids and we went back to Hawaii. and we were living out there for a minute. And he literally got on a plane, came out to Hawaii, and was like telling my mom and her sisters, like, I want my son back, and I'm not leaving until y'all give my son back. You know what I'm saying? And they tried to give him the runaround and everything. And my aunties, they told me the story about how my dad had showed up, and they tried to lie to him and tell him that they didn't, that I had left and I wasn't there. And so he was sitting in the airport, and I guess my aunt was trying to hide me at the time. And so she took me off somewhere and was walking me around or whatever. But, long story short, she ended up coming down the escalator right where my dad was. And he had Saul, and he was just like, man, fucking bullshit, you know what I mean? And he got his way and ended up taking me back, to California. And as a kid, I remember small bits and parts. I just remember coming back to stay in California with my dad, and not having my mom and my sisters there. You know what I'm saying? But eventually my mom showed up again, and she brought my sister. But this time she showed up, and she was pregnant with my little sister by someone else. And my dad took her back. My stepdad, he took her back. He took us all back, and loved us as a family. Even my new little sister, he loved her as one of his. And we had the normal childhood, birthdays and photographs and boat trips and riding bikes and getting skateboards. I mean, he spoiled us. He did everything he could to provide and spoil us, you know what I'm saying? I remember he just make sure that I was always taken care of. So let me fast forward, y'all, to when I was 13 years old. I didn't know that this dad I called dad wasn't my dad, I mean, that's how ignorant I was. Of course, he was white, and I'm definitely not white. And so, but I never questioned it, you know what I'm saying? Just as a kid, you just know that's your dad, you know what I'm saying? My parents, my mom, she never told me nothing. He never said nothing. That was the choices they made at the time to not share that type of information with me. But when I was 13 years old and I was in Hawaii, because I was getting in trouble in school, my parents decided to send me to Hawaii. So while I was living there, I remember this one time we're all hanging out in the room, just my cousins and I, and my cousins are teasing, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we do, you know what I mean? Talk shit about each other, teasing each other. And my cousins were teasing me and saying, have you ever wondered why your dad is white and you're not? You know what I'm saying? And, kid shit, and telling me stupid shit like that. And so basically got me questioning if he was my real dad or not. So I ended up getting on the phone and calling my mom back in the States. And mind you, I'm out here in Hawaii going to school, living life with my family out here and shit. And so I ain't seen my mom and my sisters in them for a minute, And so I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, my cousins say, like, that's not my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, that dad's not my dad. And she really couldn't say nothing. She just started crying and saying stuff like, I knew I should have said something before I sent you out there and all that. And I don't know. I just really didn't want to hear much more, and I had hung up the phone. You know what I'm saying? And after that, I ran away. I ran away from my aunt's house. I started living on the streets. I ended up living on the streets of Hawaii for maybe about two years, maybe. And I just didn't trust nobody after that. I didn't trust no one. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like all the way till I was 13 years old, I was lied to. And I got in a lot of trouble. I ended up going in and out of juvenile halls in Hawaii. And I got in so much trouble to the point where the judge had told me one final time that I was just visiting Hawaii and that I was no longer welcome He basically said that I need to go back to the mainland. That's what he said. Go back to the mainland. Go back to California. And if you don't, I'm going to put a bench warrant out for your arrest and you're going to do a lot of time. So long story short, my mom ended up having to get me back and bring me back to California. I'll tell y'all a little more about that story another time. But so they get me back to California. And I think at this time I'm around 15, 16, about to turn 16 or something like that. I know I was around 16 because I ended up getting my license not too long after I got back to California. And again, my dad, who now was my stepdad because I knew the truth, helped me with that, taught me how to drive, let me use his truck to get the test and everything, and just, being a dad. But I was different. I was very disrespectful, and I just remember getting in fights with him, and telling him, stupid shit. Like saying shit like, you're not my dad, fuck you, I ain't gotta listen to you, you ain't my pops. And then, being angry at my mom, telling my mom, fuck you, you're a hoe. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I felt. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, when you're a kid, being told a lie that big, for most of your life, how much it affects you. Maybe it wouldn't affect a lot of people, but for me, it affected me, and it made me very bitter and very, very hateful towards my mom and my dad. And anyways, I ended up as y'all know, I ended up getting a life sentence and sent to prison. But I remember as I was sitting in there, I remember thinking, I'm never going to get to see my parents alive again, because they were getting too old to, to drive and visit me or anything like that. But I ended up being blessed and coming home, as y'all know, and I got to see my dad, my mom, and I didn't visit my dad and my mom as much as I wish I would have. Things happen, there's a lot of hurt between us, but the times I got to sit down with my dad, I got to tell him how much I loved him and how grateful I am for him taking care of us as a family and accepting me as one of his. I'm very thankful to him. And we just lost him a few months ago. And I have a lot of regrets. But this is what happens when you don't talk or when you don't share how you feel with people. You become angry. You become bitter. And then your life spirals out of control. And before you know it, it seems like it's too late. Y'all know what it is. Stay the fuck out of trouble.